The Jersey child abuse scandal would never have reached public attention without the efforts of bloggers from amongst the ordinary citizens of Jersey. The government of Jersey and those who control it with the government made every effort to suppress the story. The media on the island tried to suppress the story, but the bloggers could not be contained. And we've been lucky enough to talk to Rico, Sorda and Neil McMurray, who are two of the leading bloggers from the island, who have explained how they went about it and what kind of resistance they encountered.
Well, it all started in 2008, in February 2008, when the Jersey child abuse scandal went public because of the remains of bodies and that up at Hotel Agarin. Well, that got my attention, and obviously through my childhood, I'd been playing football up there, and I knew a few of the kids that went there, so I was kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And then as we progressed, and a lot of other stuff was coming out, and then we had the infamous bailiff speech on May the 9th, 2008, his Liberation Day speech. That's when it really got to me. But I thought, oh, there might be a bit of a cover-up going on here, or they're trying to shut this down. So I was having a few says on a few forums that were going around at the time. And then a Time for Change was starting, which was a political party. So I went to a couple of their meetings. But I just found it wasn't going anywhere. And then by chance, that's where I met Neil. And I gave him a lift home one night, and we had a chat in the car. And he told me about his blogging and said I should be blogging. And that is really how it started. That was probably mid to late 2008. And I didn't actually start blogging until 2010, but I was very active on forums and that. And Neil and I, we just clicked straight away. And that's where it started.
And you would have thought, wouldn't you, that there would have been plenty of people on the island in terms of newscasters and journalists that might have been willing to engage with that problem, but that clearly didn't happen, did it?
Well, the reason we had to do what we did was because the media just wouldn't touch it. You know, the way Jersey is, we only have one newspaper, obviously, in Jersey, and all the media is pretty sewn up. It's establishment. The establishment run the media. It's through whether it be like was it the advertising and financial. And Jersey is a very close knit community. You know, you just don't put your head up above the parapet because you're going to get shot if you do. So hence no one was going against the mainstream narrative, and that was, again, Neil and I were like, right, we're going to do something, and if we're going to do it, we are going to do it properly. We're not trained journalists. I've got to make, we come from, it's not my job. I just work in a shop, but you think, right, you're going to try and do the right thing, and that's.
Did that mean that you started talking to people to find out the story, or was it that you already kind of really knew an awful lot?
No, God, I didn't, in 2008, I didn't even know how my island operated. I didn't even know the politics of the island. I knew there were constables and all the rest of it, but I had absolutely no interest in how Jersey was run. I had to learn. I remember Deputy Tadier taking me to a state sitting, and we're sitting up in the gallery, and then explaining to me exactly how my parliament worked. I didn't have a clue, but I had to know if I was going to do what I did. I had to know everything.
Yeah.
So I had to teach myself a lot of things. I didn't even know how to write. When I came to do the blogs and doing forums, well, I had to expose myself in that I hadn't written since I was at school, and through my work, you just lose that skill. So I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to make a right fool of myself here, because I can't even put a paragraph together. I don't know how to structure anything, but that can't stop me from getting my. So I thought, let's just go for it. And Neil was great for that, because Neil helped me loads. But it was a lot of work, and I think go on then.
And did you notice a reaction at all, or were you just blogging into a vacuum, into a kind of
start with at the
into
very
space?
least?
When did you notice a reaction, and what did you notice?
When I was blogging on forums, well, then you've got like this little group that are on the forum, and you're you know, that you've got those for and those against. I only realised the audience when I started blogging, which was in April or June 2010. That's when Neil finally said to me, "Right, Rico, you're blogging." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to open a blog." And then, because of the functions on the blog, like your audience counters and everything like that, I could actually see. I remember the first time I blogged, and 25 people clicked on my blog. I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing." But it fires you up, you know, and you think, well, at least someone's reading what I'm putting out there, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then, well, then the audience just grew and grew and grew.
And could you tell whether people were on the island or were they elsewhere?
Yeah.
Could you tell?
No, I could. It was telling me, but it was coming from outside of the island, a lot from America, France, and it was. The internet was very raw back then, you know. So the tools were great because everybody, you know, we were all kind of learning on the spot. You know, we weren't doing podcasts, or there was none of that. So it was an amazing tool, and but Neil had been doing it a lot longer than I had. So you know, I was just getting shown what to do. It was quite easy for me, but Neil had to learn obviously on his own, and I found it quite easy, really.
So were you talking regularly and finding out what each of you were doing? And
Neil was the wife. I referred to Neil as the wife, but when we were doing this, we were just constantly in each other's pockets for, I'd say, 8 years. Constant, yeah.
What got you started, Neil?
Sorry?
What got you started?
Well, again, it was, you know, pretty much what Rico was saying. I was aware of, before Operation Rectangle, the child abuse police investigation, I was aware of the media covering stuff up, the establishment covering up stuff. And then when Rectangle came along, I knew that, in fact, it was Stuart Sivray who was speaking out against it, the former, he was the health minister at the time, if I remember. And you could just see there was going to be a cover up. And I got Stuart blogging because he was getting such bad press all the time on the mainstream media. I said, "You need to start up your own blog, Stuart." I said, "You know, I've got one running," and I showed, you know, I got him set up with a blog. And, you know, we got to always remember is our blog should never have existed. You know, there should have been no need for us, and we can't get away from that. Like, it's only, like Rico said, we're not educated. You know, I left school at 15 without any qualifications, but the media were not only not interested, they were just campaigning against anybody who spoke up and spoke out against the child abuse, including Lenny Harper, Graham Power, Stuart Sivray, the Pittmans. You know, so we thought we have to do something. And it was great when Rico came along because there was so much to report on, you know, so much. And it was just too much. I couldn't do it all. Like, you know, Stuart's blog was going, and there were other blogs going. It wasn't just our two, like, you know, Tony's Musings, Polo, Stuart, Trevor Pittman. But it was just too much work. So Rico lifted a load of weight off of my shoulders by saying, he'd say, "Right, I'll do the Graham Power stuff."
I mean, as I say, I got sucked in. And when I say sucked in, when I go, I will fully committed to this. Like, I remember going, right, I've got to study. Like, I didn't even I better buy a laptop for a start. This was what my first thing. I didn't even have a device. Right, I need to get a laptop, get a laptop. Someone needs to show me how to use a laptop. Get into that. Right. Hansard is our government's like web page where all the states debates go up online. And so I started studying the Hansard, all debates, just finding out how it works, what are people saying, you know, you get a feel for it. And then I said to Neil, I remember one day I said, "You know what? I'm going to focus on Graham Power." I remember saying, you know, I said, if we can find out the truth about what happened to Graham Power, then we might find out the truth about the actual cover.
So how did you go about trying to find the truth about it? Did you go and meet him or?
No, I've never met Lenny Harper, and I have when the Care Inquiry was on, I met Graham Power for the first time. No, I'd never met them, especially Graham Power, because obviously I focused so heavily on his suspension. And he must have been thinking, "Oh, this is great! I've got a pipe fitter in Jersey fighting my corner. What chance have I got?" But it was the establishment and everything that goes with the establishment didn't hide anything, because there was no need to hide anything. When you've got the mainstream media where you want it, well, there's no need to hide anything, because it's not going to be reported. But the internet was there, which they didn't know about, and the blogs and everything out. This was like something completely new. So
I think it started when the biggest one was when we were leaked the secret debates where Andrew Lewis, the then Home Affairs Minister, had said he'd seen this damning report from the Metropolitan Police about Graham Powers, which that report didn't exist, and the Metropolitan Police, there was nothing damning. It was a lie, and it was found to be a lie by the Care Inquiry. Well, that was a secret debate in the States, and we got leaked the Hansard of that debate. So back, I think it was around about 2012, 13, maybe. And Rico published it on his blog.
Yeah, I just thought,
because Andrew Lewis had told the secret debate that was never supposed to see the light of day, that he'd seen this damning report from the Metropolitan Police. But he'd also told another, the Wiltshire Police, who were investigating Graham Power, that he hadn't seen the Metropolitan Police report. So he's told two different stories here, and Rico published that secret in-camera debate, and Metropolitan.
The great thing of what we did, and again, this is because the internet was raw back then. it was very punk rock when we were doing it. I loved it. It was all raw. It's not like it is now. And so, and when you got a blog, well, it's not like a newspaper where you've just got one little section and that's it. It goes out and it goes. Well, you can build on a blog. You don't have to tell the story in one posting. You can build it and build it. This is what I was learning. You can build it. So when I was doing Graham's suspension, I thought, I don't have to rush this. I can just build it. And I'm learning I trust the gut instinct, always my gut instinct. If I could read something and see something and I thought, oh, I can go with that, to see where that goes. And then Neil would interview me, with a camera. I'd sit in front on a chair and we'd do an interview, and then Neil would edit it and get it, and I would explain with a video of what I'm blogging. So I was really trying to keep it in layman's terms. But Graham's suspension was one hell of a body of work. When I look back on it now and what we achieved, it's still now the best investigative work that Jersey has seen. And that's not just to come and blow some smoke, but it's what we did there to expose it. It took years, absolutely years. When I published that in-camera debate, I remember waking up in the morning and making sure there wasn't any cars outside that house, but I don't know. But that's where I'd got with that. But I thought, right, okay, I'm going into an area now where my door could get kicked in. I never felt that pressure before because I never really stood it. Because when my friends would go to me, oh, Rico, you can't go there. You can't do it. I think, and I used to say, what? They're going to do a drive-by on me or something? Because I couldn't understand, what. Why? What's going to happen? And then it's only when you get into it more and more and more, and you realise, they're keeping this quiet for a reason, and you're exposing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're an enemy.
When I did the in-camera debate, that was the first time when I published that. I thought, right now, it could get a little bit.
So which year are you talking about for that debate? When was that?
God,
I think it was around
14, 12.
When we actually, because the debate itself, I think, obviously it was in 2008, was it 2008, 2009 when Andrew Lewis brought, because he had to bring it
That
to
was
the
in
state.
so it'd be about 12, 13.
Yeah, 2012, 2013.
And this was Andrew Lewis alleging that there'd been a Metropolitan Police report criticising Graham Power, and that became a basis for suspending him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it had never happened, didn't exist.
Yeah, because only the Home Affairs Minister had the power to suspend the Chief of Police.
Yeah.
And,
That's why they had to get rid of Wendy, isn't it?
That's right, because she couldn't have done it, because obviously, sort of without going into the whole thing, but Andrew Lewis, he was like the patsy, and they got the patsy there. And even though he made a right mess of it himself, but he had to come to the States.
This was the hapless fool that Graham Power talks about.
I mean, it's just comic. I mean, if there was one person who came out bad in the care inquiry, it was Andrew Lewis, the guy.
But it leaked in when, 2011 or 2012, was that?
Yeah, it was about, it must be, it's God, it's so many years back now, but it was around that sort of time. And but everything was like, everything we published, we thought, oh, we're not going to publish anything more damning than this, but we just kept going, and
that's how it goes, isn't it? Yeah,
we needed each other. Like you can't be on your own doing something. Like Stuart was on his own, and suffered for it really. I think. Yeah. But Neil and we had each other to egg each other on,
and back one another up as well, of course.
100%.
Yeah.
And because we could argue amongst ourselves. I'm going to say argue. I'd have I'm going to no, and we could have it out amongst us. And also like a good laugh, and it was all done. Having a banter and a good crack of it kept us sane in amongst the very dark subject of what we were doing.
Well, we've been thinking when we've been laughing, with some of the interviews that we're talking about the most terrible thing, but you have to laugh, don't you? Because otherwise you just go mad. I think really
do, and it's what worked for us because we clicked, and you've got to click. You've got to forgetting everything else. You've got to click as individuals.
Yeah.
You're going to work so closely with someone, and you've got to click with them, and that's on a personal level and everything. And by meeting Neil, just met the absolute right person. It was so different to me, but so.
Well, I mean, we've just seen the bullet posted to Trevor Pittman,
which was tweeted by Polo.
Yeah,
and that's a serious threat, isn't it?
This is the atmosphere we were working under. Don't forget, Stuart Sivray, had been what they'd done to Graham Power, possibly illegally suspended him on a pack of lies. They ousted the senior health minister of the island. Not only did they oust Stuart, the senior health minister, they'd kicked his door down, and raided his house where he was living without a search warrant. So this is the kind of sort of atmosphere we were under at the time. It was very, very tense because the police were pretty much, out of control. They could just do what they pleased because they had the backing of the Attorney General's office and that,
I mean, a couple of idiots came for me, like in a manner of ways. But a survivor of abuse said to me, Rico, show no fear. Always show no fear. He's a friend who I know, really well, and always said to me, amazing what you do. Show no fear. Show no fear. Okay, let's show no fear. You do what you need to do. If you want to come and try and do whatever to me or say whatever to people, as long as the people around me are all right, we carry on. People will try and shut you down no matter what you do. Or try and say something negative, even to what you do. There'll always be someone out there who want to maybe say, look, we don't agree with what you're doing.
Of course.
So, but you rise above that and you say, no, don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the trolls, because if we listened to it and shown our fear, we wouldn't have done what we did. And I must say as well, because if people listen to this, we just didn't do it on our own as well. We had some great people who backed us up. Former deputy like Bob Hill, Daniel Wimberley, the Pittmans, Montfort Tadier. I might probably forget a few others. Mike Higgins.
And not forgetting the Jersey Care Leavers Association, Carrie Madrell and Jill Gracia.
We became their face, their
voice.
their voice, with the voice, we just weren't going to show any fear, and there was a bank of work to do. I mean, God, 10 years of work. It was just an incredible journey, but it was done with the power of the internet and what's inside you as a person. It becomes what people forget. It's you don't just sit there and go, oh, and it takes so much work, and you go through highs, you go through lows. It takes it took a toll on us, and it did. When I look back now, it did take a toll on us, but we got there and we did an incredible body of work, which I'm so proud of, and it's the proudest thing. I really am so proud.
Well, you should be proud. You should be proud.
And I look back and I think, and no one else stepped into the void. Because I retired, I said to Neil, as soon as the care inquiry is done, I'm out, because I'm not doing this as a, as like a lifestyle thing. I want to be blogging. I'm out, and but no one stepped in to the void. So even that shows, it takes a certain character, and it was me and Neil. And
you've got to remember, all the way through this, we're working, against the background of the entire island's media lobbying against us. They were saying, well, don't listen to the blogs, and they're conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theorists,
their records, they hate Jersey and all that. And obviously, thankfully now, a decade later, sort of thing, we were vindicated by the care inquiry. We were vindicated by the chief of police, the former chief minister of the island has vindicated our work. And in fact, the care inquiry and the documentary, Camilla Hall's documentary,
great documentary, really was.
Totally, showed we were vindicated, but that wasn't easy to come by. We were, hated by so many, because the media had turned everybody against Lenny Harper, they had turned everybody against Stuart Sivray, and then the media was turning everybody against us. And all we were trying to do was tell the truth, and that's a very difficult atmosphere to work under.
I mean, what happens in that situation when you're in a community as you are, and the media are campaigning against you? Did you find that many people were influenced by the media in that campaign? Ordinary members of the community? 90%
of the island was turned by the media, and it all started with Jar 6. Was the
coconut.
I don't even like talking about Jar 6.
No, sure.
Jar 6 gets my go, it really does, but only because of what they tried to hide behind something so small. There was this mountain of abuse, which they just tried, it's like under the rug. They tried to hide it behind Jar 6, Jar 6, let's just hide everything behind it, nothing to see, 20 million shambles with David Rose and the rest of it. But we exposed, we blew all that out of the water.
Not forgetting, we exposed that basically all the evidence showed that, as it did in the documentary, Camilla's documentary, that it was almost certainly switched because it wasn't audited as a piece of evidence. And we were reporting that back then, but of course the mainstream media weren't reporting it.
No.
We're saying, hang on a minute, because if you look here, the anthropologist said it's changed in size, texture, and colour since it came back after being unaudited. And of course, the mainstream media didn't report any of that. We were reporting it, but they were still saying, "Oh no, it's a coconut. Lenny Harper, made a mess," and we were just reporting the bloody truth. What you've got to remember is that we're living in, and still do live under, a culture of fear, because of the Attorney General's office over here. We live in a culture of fear to this day. Protection. It's no different now, the culture of fear, to what it was back then. And we used to have rallies. We used to organise child abuse rallies with the Jersey Care Leavers and others, and people will be on the sort of sidelines, and they say, look, we like what you're doing, we really support what you're doing, but we can't be seen alongside you because, we'll lose our jobs. So that was the culture of fear. And people were in fear of publicly supporting us online. That's why we allow anonymous comments on our blogs and everything, because if you were seen to be supporting what we were doing, well, they'll come after you. So that's the sort of background again. And like I say, it's the exact same now, that the culture of fear hasn't left Jersey. That's how Jersey is run. It's run through fear. And you know, that's why you can only appreciate what the survivors, you know, the fact that they did come forward, did speak out, you know, to show the courage that they've got, because, you know, a lot of them have been targeted because for speaking up and speaking out. So
they had a voice, and then we knew we were making a difference when, you know, the mainstream media, well, like the Guardian, you know, in the UK, and that were contacting us wanting to do spreads, and then finding out that they weren't, you know, they actually wanted to do a very nice balanced piece and all that. So, you know, we would help. If anyone came, we would, and, you know,
well, it was only the national media that took any notice of us. You know, and we've done something in the Guardian, I think with the Express, and I can't remember. There's a few, you know,
some online publications and that.
So yeah, you know, because the mainstream media were just saying, look, we're conspiracy theorists, liars, and all the rest of it. But the only acknowledgement we got was from journalists off Ireland.
Yeah,
you know, which was good. You know, it was good back then.
The editorial that would have, you know, appear in the paper would be like, "Are those conspiracy?"
Yeah, I remember
theories?
Rob Shipley wrote something. He was the deputy editor of the Jersey Evening Post.
I would challenge him, man. I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I'd challenge him. Let's go on the radio together. Let's go on.
Well, a couple of times we've called them out. So let's do a live head-to-head.
Yeah.
The bloggers against the mainstream media, and they backed down every single time.
Did they?
Yeah, let's do it.
So he wrote a piece, this Rob Shipley, deputy editor of the Jersey Evening Post at the time, saying, you know, basically, what about these citizens journalists? Would you want a citizen's brain surgeon? Would you want us, basically attacking us, saying, well, you know, we're not journalists, so don't listen to us. Like, you know, don't listen to them because they're not trained journalists, as if journalists are some kind of
brain surgeons.
Sorry,
well,
some kind of brain surgeon.
Yeah, you know, or ethical or anything like that. You know, I mean, the mainstream media has destroyed the lives and reputations of many, many people, told many, many lies, and you know, they try to say that, oh, well, we're accredited media, you should trust us. It's the stuff that you have. It's not only the stories that we've heard, you know, from abuse survivors, what they actually went through, which is absolutely horrendous and horrifying. But it's how they were treated and how Jersey is run that is just as traumatic.
Yes.
Myself, because not being an abuse survivor, but knowing that there's hopeless. You've got no. You're just. You've got no power, you've got no strength, you know, because the system is against you.
Yeah.
That's what I wish I didn't know. I always had trust and confidence and faith in our states of Jersey, in our judicial system, in our media. All that has been stripped from me now.
Yeah.
That's the hard part to live with. You think you'd hold the BBC up, you know, on a pedestal and think, well, you know, they're good. But then when it comes out that they're burying documents, you know, Graham Powers, they
buried everything.
You know, they buried, yeah. They broadcast and published all about the prosecution case against Graham Power, the Wiltshire police. You know, our powers that be got the Wiltshire police to try and get something to stick on Graham Power. Well, the BBC and the rest of the island's media published all the Wiltshire report, but they were leaked. And as Stuart said publicly, it was him that leaked the Graham Powers defence case to the BBC and the rest of the island's media. To this day, not a single word has been published of Graham Powers' defence case by any of the mainstream media, although they broadcast heavily on the prosecution case against him. The defence case was buried. The only place you'll basically see it now is on my blog. I put up, it's a 62,000 word document. We had to put it out there because the mainstream media buried it.
I always come back to the Wizard of Oz. You know, at the end of Wizard of Oz, you know, they've gone along the yellow brick road, and all it took was for little Toto to go behind the curtain, pull it back, and there he was, the guy pulling these levers, and that's all it is. You've got to just pull the curtain back and just see who's pulling the levers. It's all illusion. You know, it's like a big illusion. It's big, you know. In Jersey, it's just a small people. They could, to control the paper, you just need the editor on board, and then he controls, you know, what goes out. It's very simply done at BBC or Channel ITV. You know, it's all almost like a group think. It's very easy to control what goes out. You know,
To give you an idea of the
very
mainstream
simple.
media, you could just mention channel television, ITV channel television, and I don't know if I've mentioned this previously. I don't think we did on it. I was at the care inquiry, and it's in the documentary, and it really did hit me hard about that. The person who gave evidence, the victim survivor gave evidence saying he was anally raped, 8 years old, anally raped, and had to put. He was embarrassed and couldn't say anything, and had to put toilet
the
paper
tissue,
on his bum. Well, that night, ITV channel television was reporting on the care inquiry, and they said abuse was mentioned, you know, at the care inquiry to include people being flicked with towels in the showers. So, you know, okay, they couldn't say somebody was anally raped, but they could have said and other
Horrific
evidence was given.
Serious, sexual assaults,
but they didn't. So people are thinking, bloody hell, you spent millions of pounds on this inquiry, you know, because we all got flicked with towels in the showers. Like, is that really it? And that's the sort of impression that the mainstream media wanted people to have. Look, millions of pounds have been wasted on this because a couple of people got flicked by, you know, with a towel. That's what we were up against, you know, is that kind of stuff.
When you think of what happened to these kids who had no chance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, well, for me and Neil, and to do what we did and give them a voice, I'll take anything that comes, you know what I mean?
Christopher Bacon, the music teacher, now he was reported, we got a parish hall inquiry over here to stop, you know, basically they sell it to stop kids going to court, children going to court and getting a prison record and everything. Anyway, that particular music teacher he was accused of paedophilia, and he went to a parish hall inquiry, and a deal was done. And this is the beauty of it. Well, not the beauty of it, it's the sickness of it all. He was there being represented by, I think he was in private practice then, on William Ballash.
Right.
A deal was done at the parish hall inquiries where Ballash said, well, my client, Bacon.
Wasn't he an honorary copper as well, I think?
I know, yeah, he was honorary. Yeah. And the deal was done where they said that Christopher Bacon would retire as a teacher. And that's what happened. He retired as a teacher and it didn't go to court. We're talking paedophilia.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be for petty crimes and that, but a lot of stuff is done at these parish halls. It's not what you know, who you know.
Yeah.
And things like paedophilia weren't going to court, going to court. That's where the problem is, when deals are getting struck.
Yeah.
Of course, William Ballash went on to be our bailiff, you know, Attorney General, Deputy Bailiff and Bailiff, you know.